Early on in Star Citizen's development, Chris Roberts and CIG made it clear they wanted the game to have consequences and death to be meaningful. The original Death of a Spaceman article outlines those ideas and expectations, while also making it clear that while permadeath is a thing, players would have multiple lives, thanks to advanced medical technology being able to essentially bring us back from the dead. It also introduced the idea that instead of permanently dying, like in most games, players would be mostly dead, and rescued and brought back to a medbay.
Well, it just so happens that your friend here is only mostly dead. There's a big difference between mostly dead and all dead.
These ideas have been reiterated and reinforced many times over the years, particularly, in my opinion, by the fact that CIG has long intended for medical gameplay and the in-game profession to be, as Tony Zurvik said in 2015, one of the most important occupations within Star Citizen, and it's intended to be one of the larger and more flexible roles. On the MVS combat front, medics will be invaluable. They've also sold dedicated medical ships and ships with medbays to aspiring space doctors and medics who are starved by most games for this kind of gameplay. CIG took it a step further in 2021 with the introduction of regeneration. This was introduced because, while a lot of scenarios could have been explained away by diligent NPC emergency response teams finding injured players and bringing them back to civilization, this couldn't reasonably be applied to all instances where players' bodies were lost. This added the second layer of death, heavy on the quotes.
But as Chris calls out, death is going to be a really important factor in Star Citizen. Now, death, there's kind of three deaths along the spectrum. There's kind of what we're calling like the down state. So that's kind of like when your health has gone to zero and you're there. And when you're in that scenario, you'll be able to kind of choose to kind of stay there and be like, okay, I need my buddies to come and rescue me. I need the, law enforcement to come and help me, or maybe I've paid for some insurance that rescues my body or something like that.
The first being where you are downed but rescued without dying, and the third being permadeath, where your belongings and wealth are transferred to your next of kin, and a new character as laid out in Death of a Spaceman. Now, regeneration has a lot of lore, and is intended to have significant consequences in order to incentivize you to maintain your character's health, plan ahead, and make critical decisions. Would you like to know more? Check out my podcast on the subject, as there is a lot to learn. Link in the description below. So you can imagine why many players might be concerned when CIG announced with Alpha 323.1, we wanted to provide players with a less brutal experience while getting back into the action. To help with this, we are making all medical bed tiers be capable of being set as a regen location. This was compounded by the release of the RSI Ursa Medevac variant, which directly markets these changes and is contrary to everything we've been told about Death of a Spaceman and regeneration. Needless to say, lots of players have concerns, myself included. Now, I think it's important to provide constructive feedback, because I believe in CIG and their goals for Star Citizen. So I'm going to offer a solution, one that maintains the Death of a Spaceman and regeneration as they're written, fits within the setting for the game, and incorporates tech and mechanics CIG already have or are planned, while also making it so death can be a less brutal experience. To do so, we need to introduce some concepts, the first being that of rescue. The concept of rescue is not new to Star Citizen. It's what Chris Roberts was referring to in Death of a Spaceman when you'd die, that your body would be recovered and you'd be brought back from the brink of death. It was reiterated when regeneration was introduced, that instead of dying, diligent NPC emergency response teams are finding injured players and bringing them back to civilization. The narrative team has told us that rescue and paramedic organizations are ubiquitous across the Star Citizen universe in many forms. Rescue missions are also planned for players and have already received some work. This is why, Long term, we don't need to water down regeneration or death of a spaceman. We need NPC trauma teams. Right now, in Star Citizen, if you are down while playing solo, or if your team is unprepared and unable to revive you, the only viable option you have is the proverbial Backspace Express.
Toot! Toot!
Because you could be waiting 10, 15, 20 minutes or longer for a player to answer your medical beacon. But what if NPCs could revive you instead? Instead of Backspace committing suicide, it could give you options. NPCs can spawn via spawn closets in practically any interior location. And an NPC medical ship, like a Cutlass Red, can land nearly anywhere else. If you choose, these could be used to spawn NPC trauma teams to revive you, allowing you to continue the mission despite grave injuries, while also keeping your equipment.
I went on it.
Okay.
I don't know which one.
You're gonna get off on the platform. Oh, he just revved his homie. What the fuck? They're revving each other. Ain't no
I don't think I've
way.
ever seen that. No way. An AI?
I'm recording that.
Dude, Major, are you down in the bunker?
Yeah, I'm down. I'm waiting to get revved.
Okay, I'm scared as shit.
There's
like, how
3
many
of them
are
right
there?
next to me. Oh, they're revving. Oh, there's 4 of them. Oh.
They're revving each other, bro.
Oh, ow!
Are y'all both dead now?
Or the Fade to Black could have NPC paramedics rescue you and nearly instantly bring you back to the clinic or hospital of your choice, and you wake up there having not died, but instead treated and transported, again, with your gear all intact. It's also important to remember, part of the reason being rescued by players right now isn't a very viable option is because we lack higher player counts and player density and more access to the reputation system. Increased player counts, with the development of server meshing, would greatly increase the density of players across the system, meaning it would take far less time for someone to respond to your beacon. Greater access to the reputation system, for use in medical beacons, as well as the eventual introduction of the quantum simulation to manage NPC populations, would create an environment with far more players to answer the call, give players more choice in who the call goes out to, and balance the time to rescue and cost across Stanton, Pyro, and beyond to create casual and hardcore environments alike. So what do you think? Would the introduction of NPC trauma teams be a viable option for Star Citizen as we work towards a combination of player and NPC rescue? Or do you think the game needs much more forgiving death mechanics, both now and in the long term? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, or continue the conversation with me and my community in my Discord. Thanks for watching.